Hello, students. For the rest of the semester, we are going to spend some time writing what is called a synthesis essay. In fact, we will be writing 2 of these. Please do not let this term alarm you. Once it is explained, I fully believe that you will say, wow, this is much easier than writing a research paper, which is something you will do if you take the second semester of English composition. This will not only prepare you for the second semester, but for those of you who are only taking 1 semester of English comp, this is going to be very helpful to you. I know what you're thinking. Yeah, right. Seriously, I promise you, this is going to help you read with discernment. What does that mean? Read with understanding. Just because something is written does not necessarily make it true, accurate, and correct. It is important for you to look not only at what you are reading, but also to look at who wrote it and why. Let's look at this first slide. I got this material from the Harvard University website, and it describes the definition, the purpose, and the process of a synthesis essay. And you can read this, but I will go over some highlights for you. To synthesize is to combine 2 or more elements to form a new whole. Now, what this simply means is that we're getting some resources together, and you're going to combine all of those resources into one paper. You synthesize to draw conclusions about the findings in the literature so that you can identify how the literature addresses your research question. And then finally, the process. You gather the literature, you review it and take notes, and then you bring it together in an essay. See, I told you it was easy. Now let's look at the steps in writing this essay. Step 1 is one reason that this is much easier than a research paper. I, your instructor, will do the research for you. You do not have to go to the library website for your sources. It is certainly permissible if you want to do some research on your own. But for purposes of this essay, the only resources that you will use for this paper are the ones that I will give you. We will discuss steps 2 and 3 in more detail, but please look at step 4. Students, it is a requirement for this course that you write a 1,000-word synthesis essay. Thus, if you want to pass, your essay must be 4 pages or 1,000 words. When you make notes on your resources, this is the information that I want you to include on your note sheet. Once I have given you the sources, you will take these notes, and this is what you will turn in to me for your note sheet. The MLA Works Cited format, that's what would appear on the Works Cited page. I'm going to provide those for you, so you don't even have to know how to do that. That's something you will learn in second semester. This is what it will look like. This is how you submit your note sheets on each of the articles that you're assigned to read. Now, you may have to use 3 pages of paper on one source. In fact, I think you probably will, but that's okay. If you've written research papers in the past, you've probably used note cards. Well, this is just a replacement of note cards. Now, believe it or not, I will not be checking grammar on these note sheets. You can use shortcut language in any way you want to, as long as you can understand the shortcuts after you have written them. But I will not be grading grammar on the note sheets. Paraphrasing. Students, this is so important. Please look carefully at this slide. I would like to be able to drill it into your brain that paraphrasing is not changing 1 or 2 words in a sentence. The very best way to paraphrase is to read a paragraph, put aside the original document, and then write what you have read in your own words without looking at the original. There will always be quotes that are just perfect and you want to use them, and that is fine. However, quotes should be used sparingly. The majority of your synthesis essay should be paraphrased or written in your own words. Let's look at this slide. And yes, this is a fictitious source that I wrote. So here we have an article by a man named I Am Healthy. And he is writing all about a peanut butter and banana sandwich. And he's telling about how healthy and nutritious it is. And I have paraphrased it in the paragraph below. One of the reasons that a peanut butter and banana sandwich is a healthy snack is because of the nutrients. I Am Healthy states that 2 tablespoons of peanut butter contain 7 grams of protein. And that is a quote, and that comes from page 4. So I put the number 4 in parentheses before the period there in that sentence. He further supports the nutrition of a banana by listing the names of 7 essential vitamins and nutrients contained in a banana. This is excellent evidence of the nutrition in the primary parts of this snack, peanut butter and the banana. Here are some key points to remember in paraphrasing. Everything that is in a synthesis essay that does not come from your own brain has to be acknowledged. Well, how do you acknowledge the source? You tell where it comes from in the body of your paper as well as on your works cited page, which you do not have to do all by yourself. I will give you a lot of assistance with that page. But let's look closely at this slide. You may acknowledge the source by introducing the material as was shown on the previous slide. That is the correct way and the easiest way. Just tell who writes it, where it is from. However, if you place a sentence in the essay that comes from a source that you have not acknowledged, then you must place a citation at the end of the sentence. I know that may be a little bit confusing, so let's look at the example. I have included the paragraph exactly as it was on the previous slide, but then at the very end, I included another sentence that was not written by Mr. Healthy. It was written by someone else. Yet another writer comments that the banana is considered to be almost a perfect fruit, and I put his name, Beard, in parentheses and then the period after. Now you might think, okay, how does anyone know who Beard is? Simple. They go to the works cited page, they look for something that was written by a person named Beard. But you have to be very careful, students, that you acknowledge every source in this paper, everything that doesn't come from your own brain. We have already dealt with thesis statements in this class, but I want you to understand the importance of preparing a solid thesis statement. It's so very important. Once you've decided on the points that you will cover in your essay, you put them in one statement and you have a roadmap. You have a way to get to the end of this paper without taking little side roads along the way. Now, I want to explain to you that not every English instructor that you will have in the course of your college career will require a 3-point thesis statement. I do, because I believe it helps students to organize their thoughts, and of course, I want it written in parallel structure. Let's look at a thesis statement about the peanut butter and banana sandwich. A peanut butter and banana sandwich is a healthy snack because it is easy to prepare, because it is healthy, and because it is delicious. So I don't have any room to go off track here. I'm going to write some paragraphs about how easy it is to prepare, about how it is healthy, and how it is delicious. I can shorten this thesis statement by simply saying a peanut butter and banana sandwich is easy, healthy, and delicious. Let's look now at the parts of the synthesis essay. We begin with the introduction. You will write several general statements about the topic. The introduction should contain no less than 5 sentences, and the last sentence in the introduction should be the thesis statement. When you get to part 2, you're going to take the materials from the essay that you have resourced, that you have notes on, and you're going to write about the first point. This should be a minimum of 2 paragraphs, maybe more. Each paragraph that you write should begin with some type of transitional phrase or word. For example, one of the main reasons, and then you finish that thought, or the first item to consider, and you finish that thought. When introducing material from another source, as I said before, always introduce it by either giving the author's name or the name of the article. And look at the example I've given you. Sybil Cannon, in her article that appeared in the Commercial Appeal, writes that. She continues by saying that. Finally, I will have a quote from Sybil Cannon. Her final point is that all babies are beautiful. Well, I have a page number there, because when you have a quote, you have to guide the reader to the exact place where that quote is. Because you've told where the information is from, you do not have to give any other information within the body of the paper about where these materials are found. The reader can simply go to the works cited page and find that name and know where that is. But if you have a page number, then you need to use that with a quotation. What if you don't have a page number? Then you will just use the author's last name or the name of the article. Part 3 of the synthesis essay is exactly like part 2, except that you're moving to the second point. Again, minimum of 2 paragraphs. Again, transitional words or phrases to introduce it. Again, introduce the sources, and if you don't have an author's name, this is how it would be introduced. An article that appears in Consumer Reports provides information concerning. And as you see in that example, I use a quote, and I just use the title of the article because I don't have a page number. Part number 4, exactly like part number 3. Exactly. And then part 5, conclusion. This is the only place in the synthesis essay where you may include your opinion. It is the only place in the paper where you can use I, me, or mine. Your conclusion summarizes the paper in a few sentences and then reaches a reasonable conclusion. Again, students, remember, 4 pages using the prescribed margins. No large margins simply to try and get to 4 pages. I know that trick. So, what do we need to remember? The paper must be a minimum of 1,000 words, which is usually about 4 pages. There are no exceptions. If you turn in a 2-page paper, that is unacceptable. When writing, stay in present tense. I want to explain why I require you to do that. We are using MLA, which stands for Modern Language Association, and we use present tense because that is prescribed by MLA. Staying in present tense is difficult. You think that you're describing something that the author wrote in the past, and he did. But with MLA, you pretend that he is doing it right now, right in front of you, and you use present tense. In some other classes, you're going to be introduced to APA, and in that case, you will use past tense. But just remember, pretend that everything is happening right now. You are watching it happen. Describe it in present tense. You can see the example up there. The first point in determining if college players should be paid to play is looking at the amount of money colleges make from their football programs. Coach Hugh Freeze, in his book, Facing the Giants, laments the fact that the athletes are put on such tight restrictions when it comes to their basic needs. No, Coach Freeze did not write this. I'm just making it up. Another thing to consider is the amount of time college football players have to give to be a part of the team. One researcher, David Reynolds, has found that college football players spend an average of 40 hours a week in practice, physical training, instructions on plays for the game, and the actual game itself. And I got that from page 14 of David Reynolds' book. Finally, I'm going to include in this PowerPoint parts of a PowerPoint that I've already shown you before. I hope you looked at it, and I hope you'll look at it this time. Pretend that each slide is a piece of paper. Notice where the page number is. Notice where the title page information is. Notice where the title is, and notice where the first line of the essay is. I have tried so hard to explain this, and I'm not doing a good job, obviously. But the title page information is not separate from the rest of the paper. It is included only on the first page. And when you get to page 2, the only thing that's there is your page number in the right-hand corner with your last name and page 2. And then I've got here some information about your title. You do not put a period at the end of the title. You capitalize the important words. The only thing that might be put in quotation marks is if you are analyzing a piece of literature and so you are putting the title of that literature in quotation marks. Please note, between paragraphs, there are no extra lines. Between the page number and the first line of the essay, there are no extra lines. Between the title and the first line of the essay, there are no extra lines. Everything is simply double-spaced. And you've seen how we've changed the numbers, and I hope that this is going to help you to format the essay correctly, but as always, call me if it doesn't make sense. Here are some instructions on how to set margins for your essay. I'm not really sure what else to say or do to help you do this. All I can say is that if you are having difficulty, please call me. And here is how to double space an essay. The most important part is that little line right underneath the spacing that says don't add space between paragraphs of the same style. That has to be checked in order for you to have double spacing throughout. So please, if you don't understand, call me. Students, we are 1/3 of the way through this class. This is the time when students in some of my former classes begin missing assignments. Please stay the course. We are spending almost an entire month going through each and every step of this synthesis essay. You can do this. I promise you can do this. I'm here if you need me. And one more thing, I believe in you. Thank you so much.